Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. What's going on, guys?
What's up? Good to be back.
Nothing much, man. We were at the Arnold Classic last week. Had a blast there. That was a fun time. That might be one of the better Arnold Classics of all time.
Oh, of course, the one I don't go to.
It was really cool.
It was really cool. We got to see, I don't know if I should say it or not, fuck it, but we got to see Milos arguing with the IFBB officials after the... He was having a pretty heated argument with the guys afterwards.
Yeah.
Milos?
Yeah.
Yeah, the stream was hilarious between him and Fuad.
Oh, I didn't... Yeah, you were saying that. Of course, I didn't hear the stream. What was going on there?
Oh, it just two kind of personalities who think their view is correct with everything. It was just interesting, you know. And then Fuad with Samson, you know, like, you know, he's got kind of skin in the game, and then, you know, Milos did too, and it was just funny. I mean, it wasn't like, I guess it was just kind of funny more than anything. It wasn't like nothing was heated or anything, but it just two good personalities to be mixed in together on a stream.
Well, that makes for good drama. It's got to be weird, him doing the stream and having his clients compete.
Yeah, well, that's kind of part of what it was.
A little biased.
Yeah, it's hard to be. I mean, it is. It's hard to be objective. And even when, and because Fuad kind of was, Fuad saw the writing on the wall. You know, Fuad could see Hadi was winning, and you could see like him, you know, trying to mentally word it,
right, diplomatically.
Because Samson's his guy. You know, it's tough to admit it, but it was just, it was a good stream, actually. I thought it was a good one.
It was free, right? Completely free.
Yeah, it was free.
Completely free and lag-free, high def. The only stream I've ever watched where I felt like you could accurately judge. It's still not quite as good as being in person, but you know, pictures you can never judge, which is why you go on the internet and everyone always bitches about the results of a show, you know, and it's like, well, if you were there. This is the first stream I've watched where I felt like you could make an accurate judgment from the stream.
I can tell you, just you know, being there, looking at the competitors on stage with my eyes, and then they had a big screen above the stage. Just looking at the competitors with my eyes on stage and glancing up to the big screen right above them, so much was lost.
Oh yeah, the Nationals this year was one of the worst for that. Because the Nationals was stacked. You had guys in every weight class out of the top 20 with striated glutes. But, you know, the same thing, I'd look to the side to see what the screen was, or the stream was showing, and it was like the people watching this have no idea what's going on. These guys are in, this is like one of the better Nationals I've ever been to. And then the stream is blurry, and, you know, like the brightness is turned up too much. Everyone's washed out. You can't see anything. But, this stream was good.
And then nobody at the Arnold had striated glutes. Maybe Hadi.
It seems like they're really kind of trying to, like, not push against conditioning, but push more against the. I think they're trying to get back to a '90s look where it's like, you know, you needed to be lean, you needed to, but fullness was rewarded a little bit more than just straight out pure, you know. It got bad when it turned into a glute and hamstring contest for about half a decade, really. And that's not what the sport is. So I'm fine with it.
I'll tell you this though, the production quality of that show was top notch. I mean, I think the last pro show we went to was the New York Pro, and it was night and day difference from the New York Pro to this. I mean, there's no comparison.
Even the Olympia, man, compare this to the Olympia, it kind of shadows the Olympia. It's crazy.
Well, and then Arnold made that big announcement.
Mhm.
I think he's making his play. I think he's, the Weeders are gone. He was loyal to them. He doesn't need that anymore. And Arnold doesn't like to be second to anything. I think that was his push to say, hey, look, I got, I got $1 billion.
Yeah.
I'm a billionaire, and I don't got that much more time on this earth, and I've won at everything I've done. I'm not, I'm going out as a winner on this too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Arnold's. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
I was saying he was giving no fucks all weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he was hilarious. He would not be upstaged. Anytime someone did anything,
awesome.
even unintentionally, like when the board short division came on, I was
man.
I watched that. They have to be dropping that division after
the
that.
guy trying to hug him, and he was he made that face and like gently patted his head. It was just pure comedy.
And after that, all I could think is like, did they just drag that out and just kind of mocked him for 20 minutes? It's like they got to be dropping that division because he was ruthless.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. He came out, to give the award, and he was just making fun of them all on stage. He's like, come out here, and it looks like you guys have trained your legs for the first time ever this year. You got calves. You got thighs. You can't see them because of the shorts, but they're there. So funny, man. His swagger is in full effect. I just love that.
Well, didn't Bill Burr had a bit about that, about him and the maid, and he's like, can you blame the guy? He's he was on a 40-year winning streak. He's couldn't miss for half a century. Of course, he's going to take a few chances.
It's a great bit. Bill Burr doesn't miss.
Oh yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, I think
man! And then when the wellness division came up and that girl was up on stage,
I didn't see the. I don't know
Colin, you got it. You do the Arnold. You do the Arnold.
But he had to interview everyone. He was asking him. He's like, I just want to know how the training for the fitness differs from, the training for the wellness competitors or the bikini. He's like, because I just see your glutes are so defined and your size and your whatever. The guy's just like rolling because he might as well just be like doing like this as he's talking.
And then you
just look so good. How does the training differ?
then he said, I'm up here in the front row drooling.
Oh my God.
That's right.
The girl looked totally creeped out. She's like, "You're my hero."
Yeah. Well, yeah, you forget. I mean, he is a dirty old man now. The dude's in his mid-70s. He's Grandpa Arnold now. Grandpa say stupid shit. He probably had a drink or two in him. That's what grandpas do.
He had definitely been in the schnapps.
Yeah.
It's funny too because a lot of people were mad that Physique and women's bodybuilding wasn't there, but I'm like, no one's really watching that in comparison. And I'm like, good. I think the exclusivity of the Arnold is a good thing as opposed to the inclusivity of like the Olympia, for instance.
Yeah. Well, they do. I mean, yeah, because that's why I miss wellness. We had to get food, and it's like, the guys go out. I felt bad for the guys. First, for the open men, it's a 2-day show. And then, they're on stage like 4 separate times at finals. It's like you bring them out, then other divisions go through, oh man, and then you go back and get cold again. And it was making a difference because, like Samson was really fading by the end. I mean, I think the show was, I think it was, over by then. I don't think there's anything he could really do at finals. He would have had to come back, when like dead on point, but 300 plus pounds, and you got to be on stage 5 separate times in one night after the second day of peaking. Good luck,
Dude, he was out. He was out shaking hands at the expo.
Yeah,
all day. I'm like, how's he doing
wild. That? Yeah, that's. I mean, well, we've all prepped people. Like prepping a 154-pound dude is easy. Dry him out and add a couple carbs. You can't. He doesn't have muscle to be flat. And but like 300 plus pounds,
room
that's
for error.
A lot of glycogen, and that's a lot of fluid volume. You got to get all that dialed in, and then to hold it for 2 days, and then to hold it through multiple times on stage hitting poses. To be walking around an expo is wild.
And then he said he had the flu too. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, he said he had the flu.
I think that was his way of cutting Milos. I think he wanted to drop Milos, didn't, and I think that was his way of like saying, "Hey, I can't compete," and then indirectly dropping Milos and now competing again, because now he's doing the show now.
Well, he had
I think he take a break. I mean, he needs if you think about it, the dude's been going for a minute, just fucking hammering it out, which I think is great. But for him, man, I mean, the way he was talking really concerned me. That first video where he was like, my body's failing on me, and he just looked like he was about to bawl out and cry. And I was like, geez, man, this guy's not in a good place. And it's funny enough, that same thing happened to Logan Franklin, I think it was 2 Olympias ago, where he couldn't even compete. Like, he couldn't step on prejudging to actually like compete because of something that happened in between, right? I don't know, but it's I think he needs a break, and I think Milos maybe had a role to play there. I don't know if it was like one of his crazy peaking protocols that he did with a lot of diuretics.
I'm sure it was. That's what he does. Yeah. Well, David Dirth, I don't know if you guys remember David Dirth from the 80s
I remember
and 90s.
him.
Yeah, he retired himself by doing that. One year he did every single pro show, and he prepped for basically a year straight, and he said his body just never recovered after that. It was just, but by the end, it was like what these guys are saying. It was shutting down, and it just never came back. He tried to, take a few months off, and then get ready to do a couple shows the next year, and he said it just didn't work. His body was done.
It was man, he had a complete meltdown on social media, and then he took the video down. I'm glad I recorded it.
Say, like, what is everyone talking about? It's like, what the fuck you mean? You just said your body was failing. You're going to the hospital.
I felt bad for the guy.
In the sport. If you put something up, everyone's going to know about it.
Yeah.
I felt bad.
Forever.
He was talking about the internet trolls beating him up after the show, and he's like, well, I'm going to put my life on the line for this bullshit, basically.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild.
Wasn't it rumored that this was one of the first contests he ever used Tren for too?
No, that was the Olympia last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't get the internet troll thing. I feel, how old is he? He's not
30.
He's almost 40.
Yeah, so he's the worst age fit. See, like as a 45-year-old, I lived, my whole life. I became an adult, had children, all before the internet was really a thing. So to me, the internet has never. To me, all the internet was to troll. Like I have troll accounts on every message board there was. I used to troll myself. I used to go on Get Big, and that's how I used to boost engagement for myself. But I'd go on Get Big under a troll account and troll Troponin Nutrition. And so to me, like the internet, that's what it's for. No one goes on the internet to, like. There's a couple schmoes who go on there and praise each other, but you go on there and just razz each other. That's what guys do, and as friends. And so it blows my mind that these guys take that stuff so seriously. Because what, like you only bash up. Like Michael Jordan doesn't go online saying LeBron James isn't good. Like he doesn't have that debate. Like you only bash up. So if someone's bashing you, by definition, they view themselves as below you, essentially.
Unless you're Dave Chappelle, then you bash down.
Yeah, but he does it brilliantly.
It was wild being there, seeing it. It was like Colin and Todd were there, man. As soon as as soon as Hadi walked out on the stage, I'm like, this guy's winning.
Yeah.
It was
in person, was the conditioning that radically different between the two of them?
Yeah, what'd you think, Todd? Todd's got a mouthful of food. We'll see if he can talk there.
Big bite. So, first of all, hey Justin, hey Ryan, hey Colin. Sorry you guys weren't there.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah. I was surprised. I was so convinced within seconds that Hadi was going to win.
Yeah.
It turns out everyone had the exact same feeling, but I thought I must be missing something because
I mean, as soon as he stepped foot on the stage, I mean, it was apparent that he was.
You want to know my concern with that was I had the same thing. I thought it was immediately obvious. I thought Hadi was the clear winner. He looked incredible, but I also thought his delts and triceps were quite clearly enhanced above where they might otherwise have been under just so I mean, for legitimately, I thought that sets an interesting precedent because it was done well. You know, nothing was pointy. You know, nothing was, you know, nothing was lumpy. But there's, you know, and it's not like he's the only one doing it. You know, you only have so many areas to pin things. And obviously, he chose delts and triceps for the bulk of those pins. But I thought that was interesting because it was the clear winner, and I felt like. And his shoulders has been suspect really for several years. I'd say this as a Hadi fan even, but I thought that was an interesting precedent because, you know, how do you knock how do you knock someone down for that later on? You say, yeah, we realize you guys only have so many muscle groups to put stuff in. As long as it's not lumpy, it's game on, or what?
I mean, everybody up there is using SEO. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. But his was, you know, like Samson. I think you couldn't say. You could argue. You can't know for sure. You know, I think Hadi is side delt. I think you can say, well, yeah, obviously. You know, and I think even outer head of his tricep, you can say, well, yeah, clearly. Which I'm like you said, everyone has done it, but everyone on stage.
Is it just scar tissue for him at this point, though? Because I mean, I can't imagine. He's one of the older guys up there too, who's been doing this the longest.
Well, what I find happened, and as someone who's old and past their competitive years, what happens is, you get like a kind of a scar tissue type thing, and it looks like a good while you're full and muscular, and then when you kind of back off and you lose the size, you get, and I don't even want to say this online and speak for anyone. But I think Skip Ken Hills has said this about his side delts, and I guess I don't want to like call anyone out, but if you look at Jay Cutler's side delts, they get like a flat look, and mine have the same. You know, like the kind of like they're just like a flatness there, and it's I believe from scar tissue that used to be, you know, full and inflamed and kind of, you know, artificially full. That, you know, I'm 15 years past that being artificially full, and now it's like almost like indented even.
When I met Jay in person a couple of years ago, I noticed his arms looked really weird.
Biceps, yeah.
His biceps looked really weird.
King Kamali's arms are the same thing, and I think like what happens is like because the fullness last, like my delts were around for 2 years after I stopped competing. Really, you know, and for a year it was almost like no difference. It really lasted a long time, but now both of my side delts are almost like indented even, and that's the only thing I can think of is that it's the scar tissue.
I generally stay away from delt shots. I have big round delts to begin with. I just don't want to fuck them up.
Yeah, I need to back off on my delt shots. I think like it's probably gonna get like a cannonball effect.
Well, you get these guys that end up looking like they have mushrooms growing on their side delts. I had one of my clients had to tell
the rear delts. Darren Charles, who used to be able to hang your coat or with a coat hanger on his rear delts.
I'm like, how the fuck do you even do rear delt shots? I can't reach back there, man.
Wait, are you guys talking about
drop one arm like this?
You gotta prop it up and you gotta push it.
It's fucking hard. I get like pec cramps when I do my rear delts. Like I legit get like a pec cramp.
Are you guys talking about
Delt injections?
No.
At a certain age, you're talking about just doing normal delt injection.
Either or.
Yeah. And I think you see it late in Ronnie's career and his glutes. You know, it's because his glutes were, you know, I think Ronnie was pretty much mostly an upper glute guy, you know, some side delts. I just always like hyper-analyze things like this, trying to figure out like what everyone was doing. Because you can see when Ronnie trains shoulders in the Unbelievable, you can see his right side delt, like a strip of muscle. You can clearly see there was an injection there. And his right one is extra pointy and it looks awesome, you know, but you can see if you watched his shoulder training day with like those like red, white, and blue Zubaz pants, look at his one side delt. But his upper glutes, if you look later in his career, they're no striations, and you can see almost like it's striated, striation ends, and there's like kind of a lumpy mass. And I would guess now that area is like what my side delts are, which would be like kind of just flattened, and like because the underlying muscle isn't pushing that scar tissue up.
I'm going to pull Samson up. You could see him. He just had, I don't know what was going on, but he just had maybe it was from being sick, or they just tried to carve him up too much, but he had a film, just a film of water over him. It was really weird looking.
Yeah, that's why I don't like the extreme protocols, because you're fighting for that 1%, and it's like, he's 300 pounds. 1% of 300 pounds is 3 pounds. Does a 297 Samson look different than a 300-pound Samson?
I mean, you can see it in his glutes and back. I mean, he just had a layer.
Yeah, it's just like you tried to do too much for the show, and you can see his veins are flat, so he's low blood volume.
Low for sure, you can tell.
Yeah, and
blood volume's low. Yeah,
but then what happens is, his blood sodium concentration is probably below 0.9%, and so and there's not much water, period. But so the body has nothing to do but to bring that the sodium concentration up to 0.9%. It has to dilute the blood in the veins, which is why his veins are collapsed, and that kind of leaks under the skin, And then, which is also why I think his look was changing so much as he posed. At first when he'd come out, he'd suck some of that water up, and it was like he was getting better. But then later on, as the show went, that reversed, and he'd start fading harder. That's why I just don't like those extreme protocols, because even with the big guys, even like a Ronnie Coleman, when he was 297 at whatever, like the 2004 Olympia, 1% of that would have been 3 more pounds. If he was 300 pounds, he doesn't look different. 297 looks the same as 300. Really. So you're fighting for a 1% that really can only, if you're 1% better, it's not noticeable. If you're 1% worse, it is noticeable. So I just don't like fighting for that 1%.
Do you remember how in the after thing on Friday, I said that basically I didn't call him out, but it was very clear I was talking about Milos is the one common denominator, and that I've said previously, I think it's because he's using too much insulin to peak them.
Yeah.
So it was on the pure HD muscle. Antoine, I think, was talking about what Regan said, and that Regan had put the foot down on Milos and said, I will not use insulin this peak. And that was the sharpest, best Regan we've ever seen. So it's clearly Milos is driving the insulin on these athletes, since all three of his guys had the same problem where it was too much insulin and they had a film of water. So, Justin, you're kind of the insulin expert next to Milos. Why exactly is the insulin causing them to look soft?
Well, people forget people only focus on what insulin's effect on driving nutrients in the muscle. It does, insulin binds to
aldosterone impact.
Insulin binds to the insulin receptor, and it's kind of like opening a shower drain and allows nutrients going to the muscle. It shuffles some proteins around, opens up the cell membrane or whatever, and that's what they focus on. But they forget that insulin also is a mild central nervous system depressant. It increases glomerular filtration rate. It increases sodium reabsorption. So you got these additional things that are mild, but when you're the increased fluid output is good, but then when it also comes with increased sodium reabsorption, then you're dealing your blood sodium concentration isn't staying constant compared to what you've expected previous. If you say he's been on 6 grams of sodium a day and 8 liters of water and eating this many grams of carbs, and how his body reacts, his body reacts, and you got it all dialed in. And then now he's still on 6 grams of sodium, 8 liters of water, or whatever you do, and you bring insulin in the equation. Now his urine output increases slightly, not a lot, but it does, and the sodium reabsorption increases slightly, not a lot, but it is something. And if you're not again, when you're trying to nail that 1%, those things matter.
So if they're absorbing more sodium and they're flushing more water, how does that make them look softer?
How about let me think.
Well, doesn't insulin, just to maybe throw this out there, doesn't insulin retain potassium as well?
Yeah, so basically it causes an upregulation of aldosterone, and then that obviously downstream, causes sodium reabsorption, potassium excretion, and then you get that increased GFR that you were talking about before, Justin. And it's just basically, isn't it just instigated from that aldosterone effect? And that's what kind of like downstream just signals all those changes?
Yeah, so if you're using diuretics on top of it, the diuretics, really all diuretics are sodium-based now. Any thiazide, hydrochlorothiazide, diazide, trimethoprim, they're all working by flushing sodium. And so you just got too many eggs in the basket, I guess. So you got one thing that's holding a little bit more sodium. You're using diuretics to excrete sodium, and both of them are different than what you're used to, which is why which is one of the reasons why I don't like when people say do trial peaks, and they'll just do a mild trial peak where like a week out they'll add carbs or something. It's like you're missing like the things that's going to happen in the real peak. You're not prepared for, And I think that not that Milos does that, but it's just too many things to deal with, Especially when if you're using, 10, 20, even 30 IU's total of insulin for a carb up, no big deal. But Milos isn't using those kind of numbers.
Is it like hundreds?
Exactly.
So I'm thinking like
Samson looked great, and I'm not sure why the condemnation, but the thing is like it's a subjective sport, and I think when you're at this high of a level, sure, he's new to competing, but it's important to talk about these things. And why did he get second? Well, that's what we're kind of discussing here. It's like those little nitpicky things that just differentiate you from first and second place.
Yeah, well, they did a comparison.
No one's bashing anything. It's not. It just, it's like if you after a football game, why did one team win or lose? You're saying, well, this is what happened.
Dude still got second place.
I'm a huge. I thought, I'm a huge Samson fan, and I thought like how Hadi reacted. To Olympia, like that kind of lost me. Like be humble in victory and not humble in defeat, and so it's certainly nothing against him, or even Milos. I mean, Milos is one of the best ever to do it. It's just I think he just fights too hard for that final percent that I don't think is worth fighting for.
Yeah. Well, like you said, the whole like 300 versus 280, there's not much of a difference. Like if you have those, and I mean, Nick Walker's a testament to that. You look at Nick Walker now, the lightest he's ever been, and he looks the best he's ever looked. And like, it's not his heaviest, but it's about that, like you said, Justin, bringing that full package, and you can play the size game and chase that number on the scale, but it just comes at such a cost that it's not worth it a lot of the time, I think.
Yeah, I think I talked about it with Paul. I think I call it second bodybuilding, and most people never get to it. Most people only do first bodybuilding, where a contest prep is basically like starving yourself, and the difficulty in contest prep is getting lean. It's just, but eventually you get so big and your metabolism is so high, and you've been lean for so long, and you're used to eating so clean, and you're carrying so much muscle that it's almost like a different sport, because your physique can completely change without your body weight changing. Early on you're adding size, but eventually you get to a point where you might be, like for me, it happened like I would around a 260 stage weight. And so for like the last 3 off seasons of my competitive career, I stayed around 270, 275, but each year it was a completely different look, even at what appeared to be the same roughly body fat percentage. You get like a rounder, fuller look. And so really once you get to that level, it's not just like, like first bodybuilding is just try to get lean enough. Second bodybuilding is you're already lean, like Nick Walker walks around and looks like he could step on stage, almost any day of the year. And so it's literally just fine tuning things.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, Hadi looked really good.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, he did.
It looked like he play his serratus like a xylophone.
Yeah, no, he looked like you could like just hard, like he would make a tink sound when you hit him with a hammer.
Yeah, and the vacuum was amazing on him.
I just don't think the pictures translated well. I mean, I feel like we're forgetting about Rafael, man. He looked great too.
Yeah.
I thought at finals, he deserved a 3-person call out. Like he was that. I mean, it was obvious he wasn't even not a chance at second place. So I know I did it, but I thought it was impressive enough that he deserved, like, you know, a call out or a top 3 or top 4 call out, just because. Yeah, the stream looked better. He looked softer there than I remember.
Yeah, this is prejudging, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, finals he was on.
Look crazy though,
Yeah,
especially from where he was just not that long ago to this now. It's just mind-blowing.
Anybody see the judges' feedback on him? It was actually really good. They said he literally didn't have a single weak pose, which is very rare for a bodybuilder. He just needs more adductors, more in a thigh. And I think that's pretty good critic. Like, you look at him, that's the only thing he's really lacking. Like, he's a pretty complete package.
Yeah, it's a really like a pleasing look too, which like the sport's kind of gone away from that a lot. You know, like a lot of those '90s guys who, you know, like a Flex Wheeler type. Just like you look at it, it's like that looks good.
It gave me Flex Wheeler vibes. Obviously not exact same muscle insertions, but yeah, I agree, Justin. Like, I looked at him and he has that like enough size to look good on stage, but he wasn't just playing the mass game. Like, he had good kind of flow.
Yeah, flow. That's a good word for it. Yeah,
Man, Wesley was amazing.
Yeah, he deserved that win.
Oh my god, yeah, that was insane.
Yeah.
So I do have something to nitpick here, because it's a lot of people were comparing him to Chris Bumstead, saying that he could, you know, be up there with Chris and probably beat him. But it's like, just as Nick was talking about with the adductors, like his whole posterior chain is just a little bit lacking.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of it, to be honest.
Yeah, in a couple poses, well, that's what they do. They compare his best poses with Chris in those same poses, whether or not they're Chris's best poses. His quads were just insane.
Insane on. I love his physique. Like, it is crazy.
Yeah, I'm with Colton. Like, because shows are obviously won from the back predominantly. Like, the posterior plays such a large role in your placing overall, and I think like Colton said, like Cbum, like him against Cbum, like he doesn't stand a chance. Like, Cbum will knock him out of the park.
It's a transition that you really see the 3-dimensional difference, I think.
Yeah, but
Ramon looked
Wesley's
great too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. He actually did. Yeah.
The crowd,
one thing
erupted when Wesley won with disbelief, because a lot of people suspected Ramon was going to win.
I had Ramon in first place, but
Yeah, I'm biased. I think his physique is top notch, but I do.
Yeah.
It did look, at least to me, that he was a little bit softer in this show compared to the Olympia, and that might be why. But I just still, out of a complete package, this guy's just has it all, especially the tape, man.
it was hilarious. Colin reached
we could have asked
over at
him.
me.
Could have asked him how he felt about it, because he was sitting right next to us.
Yeah, he was sitting right next to us in finals. He was like, Colin's like, isn't that Ramon sitting next to us? And I look over and I'm like, yeah, man, that is him. He's sitting right fucking next to us. That was pretty wild.
Yeah.
And Breon was like a few rows behind us.
Yeah.
That's another upset. Breon, I thought, again, I wasn't there, but he looked exceptional.
Yeah, I thought Breon, honestly, Breon got, I don't know. I had him.
Got hosed, man. That he was literally the most conditioned and beautifully put together physique for what he has.
I'm partial for Breon's look. I mean, to me, Terrence is number 1, Breon's number 2, and then Chris is probably like 3. And everyone thinks I'm crazy. It's just, I just think it looks, I don't know. Maybe it's because I like a bodybuilding look more.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think they more or less decided that the look has to be like I don't know how to describe it, more angular and not bodybuilder like, you know, like basically Cbum's look.
Yeah, which is fair. It's like why would you have the same like judging criteria for 2 different categories?
Well,
it makes sense.
What it boils down to then is that classic is only for tall people, and that if we're short,
it kind of is.
have to do
I agree with that.
That's what 212's for, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would argue classic is the most genetic of the divisions.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
But Breon, Breon.
I was talking how short Breon is.
Breon's
I didn't realize. Yeah, until he was like stacked up against everybody else, I didn't realize how short he was.
Yeah, I
Breon is
don't think you're
5'5",
gonna. I think
Terrence
you're
is
gonna need to be
5'5".
over 5'10" to have a shot in classic.
What did they say Hadi was on stage? 225, 230? Somebody was
No,
telling me we were there.
he's 5'6", 240.
240.
Yeah. So I'll go through it. So Nick is 5'7", and he's 260 on stage. Hadi is 5'6", 240 on stage. Derek is 5'5", 235 on stage, whereas Terrence and Breon are 5'5" and 187.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
I
They look heavier than 187.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
I feel
laughing.
bad for Breon, man, because he's old now too. Not in the nicest way possible, but with all due respect, he's getting old. So it's like,
Yeah.
to make that transition, it doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, because that
Health-wise.
size, that 187 is going to be noticeable in 212.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he's going to make the transition because he's still getting fourth in classic. He's 43, I think, maybe 44 now. Yeah.
That'd just be a
I
lot.
was laughing my ass off when the guy that won Diago.
Oh, yeah.
The guy that won.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Yeah, it was on there for 30 minutes. Are you talking about?
But then he was talking about, like, we were reading between the lines. He was talking about how he had to make some changes to his prep for his mental health and to keep his family together. And I'm like, yeah, that's code for dropping Tren. No Halo test in this prep. And Arnold was like,
Yeah. Well, I felt bad for Arnold because he had the mic held out like this. Like, where am I at? Way out in front. He's like, and that mic probably only weighs a half a pound, but hold your arm out like that for 20 minutes. You know, and you know Arnold couldn't show any weakness. I know that arm was shaking by the end. I think someone's going to say like 3 words, you know, as he stick the mic way out in front of him. And then 15 minutes later, he's still there holding the front.
I'll tell you who I felt bad for was Hadi Chupan's translator.
Oh, yeah, I know. He's up there for no reason. He was
Arnold
the one-
holding the mic out, like letting Hadi deliver us a soliloquy, and then like holds it over to the interpreter. He's like, I got the first part.
he
So
got
then,
all nervous.
Yeah, Hani jumps in and as the secondary interpreter.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, it was surprising how bad that interpreter was at interpreting.
I think he just got nervous. I mean, he's standing in front of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That
Starstruck.
probably froze up.
Yeah.
I mean, Urs was great too. That guy, I don't know how he gets down to
He-
the way
he
he
needs-
does. He's so huge in the off season.
Yeah, he needs to move into bodybuilding because that's why he places so bad in classic. His arms are just too like
gets
depleted.
so
Like he can't.
flat,
Yeah, he can't fill out. He just looks like a kind of just like a, I don't know, like not the full kind of Urs. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
He was shredded.
Shredded.
Yeah, but you almost can't. Yeah, you almost can't see the full extent of his conditioning though because he's not full enough to kind
Yeah,
of
the skin
have
not
the muscle
full
push
tight,
again. Yeah.
They all look better before they pull water. I don't know. The pulling the water thing needs to just go by the wayside. And it's like,
But they need to, otherwise they can't make the weight cut. That's the thing. Urs just needs to like go to opens. He can't. I mean, he's on 3,500 calories in the off season, only 3,500 calories, and he shoots up to 260. He's still got lines in his glutes.
all right, so let's put this together. So if you pull the water out, you can put the water back in as long as you didn't use diuretics.
True.
So just don't use diuretics, and after you pull the water out, put the water back in.
Oh, so just maybe some like natural diuretics like vitamin C and B vitamins.
None of that shit. Just drink water.
But when
Just water load like a powerlifter.
No, just put water in a cup and put it in your mouth and then swallow it. Like
But
that-
when-
How are they gonna get under the weight cup then in the first place?
Yeah,
No,
when are there?
you pull the water the first place by just you drink 2 gallons a day, then you stop drinking water.
Yeah, so
right
basically
there,
what powerlifter does almost like water load and cut and then natural
not-
diuresis, then fill
To
it
me,
in.
that's just overcomplicating it. You drink 2 gallons.
Yeah, I agree
all
with
year.
that. But I mean,
and you just pull the 2 gallons of water the last day, and your
Okay.
kidneys will not catch on for about 48 hours. You can drop 10, 16 pounds of water that way, and if it's not working,
yeah, 8 liters is 16 pounds.
That's what I mean by that's what I meant by water loading. It's what I used to do when I did powerlifting.
Here he is in the
It's
off season.
effective.
It's just cold.
Yeah, you
oh,
you drop a lot.
and it's, or, Colton, you're bigger than him.
I'd be making money.
Colton, you're bigger than him. You're 250. He's yeah, you're bigger than
I'm
him.
bigger. I might weigh more, but the muscle doesn't look like his. That's the only downside.
Okay. So anyway, what I was saying was you stop drinking water and then you make the weight, then you start drinking water again. And you can use salt if you want to, if that's normal for you. And then if you spill over, now that you've spilled over, you can use either pull more water out, or you can put in 6 milligrams of hydrochlorothiazide. You should peak just fine. As far as the carbohydrates, you're already insulin sensitive. I don't know why anyone would have to use insulin to load it. Just take 4 days to load your carbs before you pull the water. Don't wait until after you've made weight and try to carb up and then use insulin, because it's not working for anybody.
Well, you know what I'm wondering? I just had a thought. Who, like, guys prepping these guys? Because if you prep people in the amateur level, you're doing that every show. Guys are making weight, and you're dealing with that, and it's more difficult. It's easy, like it's easy to prep guys who don't have to cut and make a weight, but if you prep guys for pro qualifiers, you're doing that every year, making weight on Thursday, finding a way to fill out, bring water back in. Is it that these guys are working, because a lot of coaches, a lot of the top coaches, if you're only working with pros and you don't have the experience with that, maybe, I don't know who they're working with or if they're doing it themselves, but in a case like that, like anyone who coaches amateurs is doing that, how many great super heavies are there in the amateur ranks? So we're all working with, most of our guys are dealing with that every show, finding a way to make weight, weighing in on Thursday as early as you can, finding a way to carb up and bring water back in and put it all together before Saturday.
Would you even bother carbing someone up on a Thursday when the glycogen lasts 5 days? Why wouldn't you carb them up on Tuesday and Wednesday?
Well, because the glycogen weight, I'm just talking if someone has, like, depending on what their weight is. If a guy, like if he's 12 pounds, I suppose it depends. I'm thinking guys that are like really pushing to make a weight class where it's a big cut.
So the most you can pull is 7%, right? So if they're 200 pounds, you can pull 14. But if they're like
body weight,
yeah.
No, Matt Krozaleski was 260 72 hours before he made 220 for powerlifting, and he was 262 24 hours later. But that's not bodybuilding, no. That's not bodybuilding.
That was ramen noodles.
We were cutting Ben Pollock to 181 from 227.
That's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah, that didn't. We bailed on that. So I don't think it would have survived, but it's close.
Most I've cut was 25 pound for powerlifting. That was over 24 hours.
25 pounds. I've ever
done. I've had 40, 42. I think is the most I've.
So why the fuck doesn't he show up like that?
Wow. Yeah, because he needs to do open to be able to show up like that.
Not if he refilled.
Talking about some jimmied up arms.
Yeah. Those stuck around though. Those haven't faded.
Yeah, his triceps have atrophied though. Look, they're going. The biceps are still there.
I'm kind of convinced those. Yeah, those biceps are probably half synthol, half Increlex.
Well, I was wondering. You ever notice the brachioradialis on those guys? Like Jay has
Shrinks.
it, Branch has it.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that is nerve damage from the bicep thinning.
Yeah, I think it's from like the carpal tunnel from the water retention, the growth and stuff. Nerve damage.
Yeah.
Do you think so? I think it's probably that, like, and also the insulin resistance too, maybe from like using exogenous insulin too long.
It doesn't seem to happen to everyone, but like Jay doesn't have or Branch's brachioradialis is mostly gone, and so I don't. It doesn't seem to be universal, and
Branch's is really bad. Actually, that's a good point. It's the same thing where he has that huge bicep, but there's just nothing below it, where there's big gaps. Wow.
Wouldn't that imply that it's just synthol in the bicep, but the muscles have all atrophied?
It doesn't look like
that could be it too. That could be it.
Did you guys
definitely
did you guys ever see the old video Markus Rühl, like his training videos he put out in the early 2000s where he's smoking cigarettes and eating fast food?
Oh yeah. Walking to the grocery store
yeah, the grocery store when he got all the odd looks on him. That was funny.
Yeah. Well, he's evidence you can take a lot of gear and not die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smoke cigarettes.
Didn't fucking gear,
Well, he's not that old either. He's just 60, right?
Yeah.
He's not even that
It
old,
could
is
also
he?
be the whole N=1. Like he could have the drunken uncle syndrome. Like he could be one of those guys that could smoke a pack a day and drink and then like live to 110. But there's the next guy that can do everything right and then die of a heart attack at 45, 50.
All right, but people his age, like most of people that generation, people older than me or Paul, they never did anything right, and they still lived into their 70s, and he's not 70 yet. You know, like this concept that just because you smoke a cigarette you're going to drop dead. It's like 99% of people who smoke cigarettes don't get lung cancer. It's just all the people who smoke, all the people that have lung cancer smoked, but not all the people that smoke get lung cancer.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at the stats, and at some point it was somewhere in the 60s, mid 60s. I don't know what the exact peak year was, but the peak for U.S. adults was over 60% of Americans smoked. 60% of adults smoked at some point in the 60s.
It was
when
1975, right?
Yeah. Well, Markus is only 52. I thought he was older than
he
that.
looks way older.
That's what I thought.
I thought he was
'cause
older. Yeah.
I remember he was really young because I think that one New York Pro, was it, or Ironman,
That's
when they had to film him from
52?
above. He was like 28 or 29.
He's my age.
So let me put it this way: it's him or
his
Kamal.
age.
Him or Kamal. Had he not done the burgers and the smoking cigarettes, he could still be competing like Kamal competes.
Yeah, that's
Good
crazy.
point.
Yeah.
Good point.
And Breon's 43. I mean, Breon's a young motherfucking 43. Breon's a younger 43 than I think Dexter was. When did Dexter retire? At 49?
50.
Yeah.
50, isn't it?
Yeah, he made it to 50.
No, my goal is to.
Yeah, when did he
break
turn?
whatever it is.
Dexter was at 90. As a North Americans, it was like 96 or 98 when he turned pro. It was a long time ago because he turned pro young too and competed forever. It was like a light heavy of the North Americans or something. It might have been lighter than that even.
Well,
Do
he
you
started
think
as
his
animal.
career, he was able to go so long because he didn't have to do like extreme things in prep. Like he was notorious for doing little cardio and
Yeah, he did, and he would. There was a long period of time where he only trained 3 days a week. Yeah, and that was in the early to mid 2000s. I mean, it's just genetics. I think all of us, anyone who's coached, has had at least one.
yeah.
Like genetic mutant, and they usually don't make it because it comes so easy for them that they never get past. The second it gets hard, they just bail because they can do 25-pound one-arm dumbbell rows and look jacked and eat McDonald's every day. And so the second they have to pull anything out, they fall apart. But yeah, I mean, I think he just had that. He had NFL. He was an elite running back in the Jacksonville area. He was I don't know if they were doing stars back then in the early 90s, like 92, but he would have been like a 3 or 4 star running back. But I think he got his girl pregnant, and there's a pre-NIL obviously, and so he decided that he had to figure out a different way to go by. It's an interesting story though, but I think he was pretty heavily recruited as a running back.
Wow.
It's wild. Somehow I've gotten into coaching. I've got several guys that are in the NFL that I'm working with now, and like those dudes eat like trash.
Oh my god, yeah, I did
The worst diets.
with the Jets. I had a little contract with the New York Jets in like 2018 or something, and I worked with a whole slew of their team, and yeah, absolute garbage. And you couldn't get them no matter how loose you made the diet. It was like they wouldn't follow it. Didn't matter what you wrote. You could tell them to eat pizza, and they would be like, I just drank beer instead. I mean, it was like.
I wonder if that's what happened to Becton. Becton couldn't keep under 350 pounds.
I'm sure. It's like Zion Williams right now.
Yeah, like Zion Williams.
The guy could be a Hall of Famer, and a billionaire with endorsement contracts if he just reduced McDonald's a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why Kevin Levrone looks so good, because I mean, when he did compete, he was that guy that would literally do a prep for a show and then stop lifting and do his music. And he'd just eat like a normal person, 3 meals a day. And I mean, it goes to speak volumes. I mean, we do put our body under a lot of stress bodybuilding, but I think those who are genetically gifted enough to get away with that, if you can, you probably should do that. Even if you don't enjoy it, like it's probably going to really extend your runway.
It's
Have you
hard though,
seen-
but he was able to have a second identity. I think that's the hardest thing, and I think that's why so many bodybuilders have a hard time giving it up. Is
You identify as a
identity
bodybuilder.
becomes the big guy, you know, and
Yeah.
it's hard to just, you know, like whatever your identity is, the guitar player, you're the funny guy, you know, whatever it is, like you build a whole life where every single person you know knows you as this guy, you know, to completely change that, especially when it was your love and passion, where so then as soon as you change it, every single person you meet for the next decade is going to bring up the fact that you're no longer that person you wish you were. You know, Kevin was lucky enough to have music and stuff, I think, that gave him a second identity.
Have you seen Kevin lately?
He looks great, doesn't he?
Yeah, I hang on, I'll pull this up. He is definitely that is more than TRT.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, his
Yeah.
you know, I had pretty good genetics for size. I could add size easily. You know, I just did that with, you know, TRT since, I don't know, 2000, well, since COVID at least. At the start of this year, I thought I would dabble a little bit and see if I could do a little Levrone, and I learned that I can't. That makes what he used to do for the Olympia, in my mind, just that much more impressive, because it don't work like that for everyone.
Yeah, I love when I get these guys that come to me like, I want to grow into a show, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
First of all,
Well,
what's
he's
your
like,
last
Kevin
name?
Levrone did it.
Is it Levrone? Because if it's not, don't bother.
Yeah. It's funny, the amount of people that say to me, oh, I hope I grow a little bit into the show. And I'm like, you're not going to grow into the show.
Yeah, we all hope that. You keep on hoping. Hope in one hand and shit in the other. Tell me which one goes up first.
Yeah. Maybe if it's your first competition and you've still got some like runway, potentially you might grow into the show when the deficit's very small. Like your body will just fill that deficit by pulling energy from stored fat. But I mean,
Is Kevin?
beyond that first prep,
Yeah,
you're not.
Kevin.
Wow.
Doing 5 plates like it's nothing.
Yeah,
Probably
still.
4
How old
weeks
is?
old.
Oh, this is old Kevin doing 5 plates.
No, this is now, isn't it? This is
Yeah,
This
it
is
looks like
recent.
Yeah,
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 I thought we were
that's
looking
insane.
at like 1996 Kevin. doing
No,
5 plates.
No,
Yeah.
that look, you could tell
No,
by
that's
the
like
clothes people
last
were
month,
wearing.
Kevin.
Jeez.
He
Yeah.
was small for a while. He got big again.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
he's
depends on
been
the
dabbling.
It depends
How
on
old
what
is
day of
he?
the week. It could be Thursday, and by Sunday, Kevin will be big.
How old is he? 50 what?
I remember talking to someone, and they said, well, I got a couple funny Kevin stories. I think I gave. We might have talked about the last one. Was it well, the one time when we talked about GH? I knew Kevin's cousin, and he was telling me a story years ago where he was saving up. This is when GH was super expensive, you know, and he was saving up for it and saving up for it, saving up for it. So tells Kevin, you know, what he's doing, and Kevin goes, "That's perfect." He said, "Just keep doing that. Keep putting your money away, putting your money away, putting your money away. And when prep starts, take all that money and buy test."
Kevin is 59.
59. I just looked that up. It's not.
He looks amazing.
Compare him
Yeah.
to Marcus.
Yeah, it
know,
goes to
it's
show you,
really-
look after your body.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
insane. Yeah, that's remarkable. Hey guys, I got a lunch date with my daughter. So
All right, man.
I gotta,
You're not allowed to leave.
All right, hang on. Let me text
Jesus.
you.
No, go get lunch. Thank you for coming on,
guys.
Justin.
Yeah, take it easy,
Yeah.
man.
Have a good lunch.
See you later, Justin.
See ya.
So wait, then how old is Ronnie?
Oh man,
He's younger than he appears to be.
He's
which is
59.
55.
So like he's.
Yeah.
You could compare Ronnie to Kevin to Flex. It's quite a difference.
yeah.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, it's just a testament to how you treat your body. Like,
I mean, Kevin
was Kevin that good to his body, or is he just?
yeah. Well, he
genetically-
used to come off everything and stop lifting for large portions of the year. So I think, in retrospect, he kind of was pretty good to his body. Like that, the sheer I suppose lack of stress on his physiology through that period of the year would have been like night and day different to like most other bodybuilders who are doing actual off seasons and stuff.
yeah, it's crazy that he's held up. That's nuts that he can do 5 plates at 59. That's crazy. A bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Do
It's
we want to grab
insane.
some questions?
Of course.
Yeah.
Let's start with the fellas who paid some money, huh?
Like, Colin, are you still cutting?
You know, I'm trying to, man.
Because you're looking leaner, man. So I just wasn't sure if you're still cutting.
I'm still trying to. Like, it's so difficult for me to maintain that week in, week out. But I'm trying my best. Yes, thank you for noticing.
What's hard about it for you? I'm
Nice.
curious.
I just if I have money in my bank account, then I start thinking about ways to spend it on things I shouldn't eat, and sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, those arguments that I make with myself start to make too much sense. But
I feel bad for Colin. Like I lose weight on the food that he's like bulking on. Like we have completely different metabolisms.
Yeah,
I'm over here eating fucking McDonald's, and Colin's eating chicken with mustard on it, and hammered pizza and stuff.
that's what I had for breakfast today. I had a Uber Eats order queued up in my phone for a bunch of McDonald's I certainly didn't need, and I thank God I thought better of it and made some chicken. I started putting turmeric and salt in my rice with my.
It's real nice,
cooker.
Yeah. So much nicer.
Yeah, it came out real nice, and because I know I've like heard a lot about the benefits of turmeric, but. Anyway, that's off topic.
Dave says Colin stayed away from the Italian cookies at the Arnold. Well, I did no such thing, though.
I snagged a couple, Dave. There we go. A creature in the night. I snagged a couple.
I can't remember the last time I had a cookie.
I can remember the last time we had a piece of chocolate cake there.
Yeah, that was.
He's all hopped up on sugar and cocoa.
Yeah.
See, JT said he was watching a recent video with Seth Ferrocci and Larry Wheels. They said they have to get to 800 for Larry and 1,200 for Seth calories to cut. Thoughts on this low of calories?
That's not. That must be carbs. They're probably talking about carbs.
Yeah, I think they're talking about carbs. Like, I don't.
It's not
That's
possible.
fucking low calories. Yeah.
I mean,
I heard Larry talk
could
about how he cut his.
I could see Seth when he was getting really shredded doing that, but that's like when he was like young, stupid, and destructive when he needed to lose muscle. Like that makes sense. Larry, I don't see that ever happening. I don't think he's ever been lean enough to even justify 800 calories.
Did he prep for his show, the Amateur Arnold, in like 8 weeks or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I prepped for my last show in 8 weeks, and I was prepping mostly on like 2,800 calories, 3,000 calories.
Yeah,
and he's bigger than me.
3,000 usually.
All right, so
JT is in chat reiterating that Larry said 800 calories for 8 weeks, only protein, only chicken. That he saw this in a video.
Yeah, I don't really care what Larry does. I mean, I'm not.
That would only be 200 grams of protein a day.
They're smart. That just doesn't make him smart. And then as far as Seth goes, Seth is entertaining, but some of the stuff he says is ridiculous. Now, let me put it in some context that actually, like, this is what smart people have done. Ian had recently said that he had Chris eating 1,600 calories because that's what it took, although Hani was able to get a leaner look with more calories. And Ian realizes he was over-dieting Chris, which is funny because for years I'd been thinking, well, if Chris goes down to 1,600 calories, maybe I wasn't stupid for going down to 1,600 calories those times, even though I found that I diet best at 2,700. And if I go lower than 27, it's only a matter of time before I plateau. And to break that plateau, I have to come back up to 2,700. Then something Chris said in a video that dropped yesterday is the reason why he stopped squatting 6 plates and deadlifting is because his waist was getting bigger. Which is funny because for years, the whole argument that squats and deadlifts don't make your waist bigger is because Chris Bumstead has a tiny waist and he squats more and deadlifts more than just about anybody. So these two Chris Bumstead fallacies that you need to get down to 1,600 calories to get your best look, and you need to squat 600 pounds and deadlift 700 pounds to grow your muscles, and it won't make your waist bigger, are both false. So the conventional wisdom was always, if you're dieting and you're at a significant deficit, and then the calorie and you stop losing fat, it's because your metabolism has adapted to that calories. And the smart thing to do is to go into a diet break so you can resume at those calories and continue to make progress, not keep driving the calories down lower and lower. The meathead approach to do this, and I've done it, everyone's done it back before science really existed in this field, was to continuously remove calories and continuously increase cardio. But what that does is drives fatigue up and it costs you muscles.
So I want to follow it up with, some people will probably have to get low in calories like that, or lower if they're like,
but not straight out of the gate, especially at that kind of a body weight.
I mean, like if you're a 180-pound physique dude and you're not lean and you're 2 weeks out, like that might be reasonable. But for a dude who's 220, 240, 260 pounds, like 800 calories is just unfathomable.
Dan put up a useful piece of information here. That Larry ate 8,000 calories 20 minutes on the show too.
Yeah.
In other words, this sounds like, if you read it one way, it sounds like, well, this is what you should do. What I'm reading is this is evidence of his low IQ, that he would do something that stupid after a dieting that stupid. It's almost like a what not to do blueprint. Now the guy's really strong. He's really strong. I don't know if there's anything you can learn from him. It's just entertainment value to watch heavy things.
Yeah. Larry and Seth are talented and they're hardworking, but they're not intelligent.
He might be intelligent about it. He's funny, so humor is a form of intelligence. But most of the information I've seen Seth give about steroid cycles and stuff is completely antiquated bro science.
Nobody's intelligent about everything at all times.
Well,
the two.
I was going to say, with Larry's diet, the math just doesn't make any sense. If he ate only protein, that's 200 grams of protein a day. There's no way at his size he's eating 200 grams of protein.
I call bullshit on the numbers. They might have really lowballed what they do, but I mean, I'm sure they probably took the calories low, just not that low. Is it justified?
Whole macros or something, like weren't counting at the included fats and the meats or something like that, but there's no way.
In general, most of these guys are not good at numbers. So whatever number they give you, it's probably wrong. If you asked him how much gear he's using, he's probably wrong. He'll tell anyone who tells you that they do X amount of cc's, you know that they're sub 90 IQ and that nothing that comes out of their mouth has any value.
Let's play nice.
Definitely.
Let's play nice.
So there's two things that are people. Oh, sorry.
We don't really know the guy, so let's not.
No, I'm not saying he said that.
I'm
already changed subjects to someone else and saying, if somebody tells you how many cc's they do, don't listen to a single thing they ever say.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Well, we know from coaching people that most people can't do math.
No. Well, I mean, if they give you stock tips and they're a billionaire, that's a different story. But when it comes to their cycle, if they said I did 3 cc's of this and 2 cc's of that, you're like, all right, this person has no idea what they're doing. Don't listen to anything they say.
Yeah. When it comes to dieting on low calories, the big reason people plateau really fucking fast if they tank their calories. I mean, like Todd was saying, adaptive thermogenesis sets in. Everybody's a little bit different. Some people have very adaptive metabolic rates where you make a change and your body just catches on just like that. Whereas other people can ride a nutritional adjustment for several weeks and just continually linearly lose weight. There's one of the things that plays into that is NEAT. If somebody has a very adaptive non-exercise activity thermogenesis, as soon as they lower their calories, immediately they start moving less, doing less. And another thing too is resting heart rate. People don't realize how much of a role this plays in just average amount of calories burnt over a 24-hour time frame. That's the reason why clenbuterol will work so fucking well. It's the reason why all these stimulants work well. They increase your resting heart rate, which does quite dramatically over the course of 24 hours increase your metabolic burn. So you have those two things going down quite linearly as you're linearly reducing calories. If you're a very adaptive person, you're going to hit a plateau very quick. And if you do a very aggressive cut, that's going to probably take your total daily energy expenditure and cut it in half.
Todd, I was curious, what's your postulation on why Hani was able to feed Chris more into the show but get him to a leaner look? Why would that be? How would that even be possible?
I think he probably reduced fatigue.
Yeah. because he's got an autoimmune condition. And then on top of that too, I think he probably wouldn't have seen as much of a down regulation in like activity outside of the gym. He was probably had a little bit more of a pep in his step and stuff. Probably did more around the house. He wasn't as lethargic because of the low calories, so he was able to do more just general movement throughout the day, which contributed to more kind of steady energy expenditure.
But wouldn't that's the thing that confuses me, because wouldn't that still net him the same caloric deficit, even if
no? So I think what happens a lot of the time, or what I've seen at least, that you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but you reduce calories. Say like the calorie reduction is like 10% total calories. The change in activity throughout the course of 24 hours and resting heart rate that it causes is going to outweigh like the calorie adjustment. So they're going to actually, like, you might lower calories by 500, but their expenditure might go down 700 or something like that. I think that's kind of why. Yeah. It's speculatory though. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
All right, let's grab another question.
Sure. I feel bad, Scott. I'm sorry. Since Justin already left and your question was for Justin. Sorry, dude. But Scott wants to know, do you think most of the rebound gains are
familiar with
glycogen, water, fat, and we're fooling ourselves if you gain a lot of muscles, quote unquote, 6 to 8 weeks post show?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And or repairing the lost muscle that occurred during the prep.
I mean, I had that fucking crazy rebound after the show, and I hung on to it.
But weren't you but you had that muscle prior, didn't you, when you were younger?
Yeah, when I was younger.
You didn't make any new muscle during that rebound. You just got all your old muscle back during that rebound.
Possibly. Yeah.
I would say like the first 4 weeks are certainly glycogen, water, and some intramuscular triglycerides. But like after that, I think you've solidified a lot of what you may have lost, and then what's new is accumulated on top of that. But in proportion to what's just water being accumulated and more fat, which makes it seem like you're getting so much more, it's not that much proportion. But I think at least after 4 to 6 weeks, you're probably gaining a lot more muscle than you are normally throughout the year.
The new muscle synthesis occurs at a rate of 0.5 pounds per month for advanced lifters. Now, you could say, well, steroids do more than that. I was like, I don't think steroids affect the nuclear machinery more, but even if that was true, let's say it's double, that's 1 pound per month. So if you gain 30 pounds after a show in 1 month, chances are that's all old muscle, carbs, glycogen, water,
probably,
and fat.
Or that could be also on average, right? The way I think about it, at least, right? So let's say you gain 20 pounds after a show, and it's 2 months post show, or maybe it's even just a month post show. Maybe that's your, 15 pounds of that is water weight or what have you, and then 5 pounds of that is muscle. That might be your 5 pound average for the next 5 months or something of that nature, but it's not necessarily going to all be rapidly accumulated muscle. It might stick there for a little bit. Like we use this example with Nick Walker a lot, actually, where he's probably one of the most genetically gifted individuals, is putting in size year after year after year. But it doesn't mean that every month he put on 1 pound of muscle, but maybe in 1 month he put on 2 to 3, in another month he might have put on half a pound. It varies. So I think maybe post show you have a higher proclivity to put on lean tissue, and that could be wrong in me kind of thinking about the P ratio, but
I mean, in all the anecdotes that the individual gained a lot of muscle post show, it typically was after a very brutal cut where
over dieting,
where their actual post rebound weight was not actually higher than their pre-cut weight. They cut down from 280, they compete at 200, then they rebound up to 260 in a month, and they were up to 280 within 2 months, and they had the same body fat as when they started. To me, that's not gaining 100 pounds of muscle. That's they put all the fat, water, and muscle back on. I've never seen someone rebound higher than when they actually started.
I will say this, though, Todd, what I've seen with people, like I've rebounded a lot of people I don't have good luck with it, and maybe it's just glycogen additional glycogen retention and all the other stuff that's in the muscle, not actual contractile tissue. But I see it all the time where I blow people back up to their previous off-season weight in like 6 weeks, but their body fat's significantly lower.
I was going to say that's what happened with me. I mean, I was 240 at the start of my prep where I overdieted down to like 187 or something stupid. No, I think it was actually like closer to 190 or something. But I rebounded back up post-show. I think it was like 7 weeks post-show. I was 250, so I was like 10 pound heavier than I was at peak off-season before the prep, but I was still significantly leaner. I'm talking like striations in my glutes, single-digit body fat, and I'd never been that big in my life ever, which is like, it's weird, but I think almost maybe post-show, because you're so sensitive, maybe some of that wasn't muscle, but just hyperhydration, and maybe I was just like more hydrated, like I was leaner, but the body was just so deprived that it just kind of super compensated the glycogen storage and stuff. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe that's what it is, because I know after probably about 2 months from that point, my weight changed a little bit. It went up a bit, but my body composition changed a lot. Like I was nowhere near as kind of like lean or hard 2 months after, but I was still roughly around the same weight, and I'm like, what the fuck happened here, sort of. But it like
does
you
seem
said,
to be some sort of super compensation of the sarcoplasmic structure or portion of the muscle. I don't know what happens exactly. Maybe, like you said, insulin sensitivity improved, and the body does seem to super compensate somehow. I don't understand the physiology behind it.
I think we just settled it. I mean, it's like if you blow up 6 weeks later, you're more conditioned at a higher weight, but then no matter that you're doing everything right, you still get softer. It's because you're losing water in exchange for fat, because that wasn't muscle. Muscle doesn't go away.
The thing is that could skew that idea, though, is you came off gear, which I think most people do after 8 weeks of being post-show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that I wouldn't do that. I guess what I'm saying is, let's try it. This show, when I'm done, Paul, let's say after Texas, I've got 3 weeks before Pittsburgh Masters Nationals. You do my rebound, and we have 3 weeks to bloat the fuck out of me and see how much I can build before I go into that show.
while holding condition.
While holding condition. And I was going to reverse out, but you'll probably reverse me out to calorie isocaloric right away. I wasn't planning on coming off gear at all. And then I was going to go right after that into a full off season, just not come off gear for the solid 2-3 years straight period.
Well,
that's what I did.
I can tell you what Justin does. I mean, he does not reverse diet. I mean, it's hard to the paint right after the show. Now, what I have seen, I will give a word of caution. I have seen some people that I have worked with that you do this with, and they have just severe water retention when you do that. So
I got that in 2009. I dealt with that, where I had congestive heart failure after my first show. I've
had a couple guys, so like I have been a little more cautious with it, like post show. Justin will do 5 straight high days post show with insulin. That's what we do post show, and it's like you just blow the fuck right back up. But I have pulled it back down to like I'll have guys check in with me after 2. We'll see where they're at, and if there's a bunch of water retention, I pull the food back down.
I don't even introduce insulin post show, even with the rebound, until like at least 2 weeks post show, once the body's had time to acclimate to the high calories. Because I find if I had insulin in, like my blood pressure will just go through the fucking roof.
The pumps are so incredibly painful, like I can't even lift to failure or even close to failure. It's insane. All right, let's grab some other questions. I gotta wrap up soon.
Sure. Markus paid us 25 Norwegian kroner to ask if weights like the Tanita are accurate. Apparently, they claim that it's a body fat scale.
Yeah, no, they're
not accurate.
They claim that they're within 2 to 3% of a DEXA scan, but
they're full.
The DEXA scans aren't accurate either. So that's
they aren't either. Yeah,
that's not very impressive. DEXA scans are 10% off.
Yeah. And then there's the underwater submersion technique. That's a little bit more accurate if you do it right. But a lot of people don't exhale enough air to have it accurate.
I own a Tanita scale. I stepped on it 2 days before I did my show, and it said I was 18% body fat.
There's the answer.
Yeah, so if you want to know.
Okay,
I don't know how the fuck it, like I'm always 18%. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's like 18 to 19.
Todd, the hair's coming through pretty fucking thick already.
Yeah.
It's actually looking good, man.
I know
Thank
that.
Yeah. No, that's going to look sick when it's like a couple inches long.
Seeing
Yeah.
Todd in person, he might have the wrinkliest head that I've ever seen in my life.
It's gross. Really gross. I need to have hair. I can't shave it because of how gross my head is. I thought about, Karina and me discussed maybe getting tattooed Chinese dragon to like, so it looks like it's a dragon that's coiled up and shit, rather than it actually being wrinkles. Then it would look cool rather than it look gross.
Oh,
I have
man.
like this lightning bolt here. I could have like its head come around here. And it looks like breathing lightning out of one side and a different dragon.
Or you could do
Breathing
the Harry Potter lightning bolt.
Well, I don't want to
Colin.
put one on. I already have the lightning.
Okay. I get you. Okay.
Yeah, like as I
I
go in, this
misunderstood that.
vein gets bigger. So it'd be like, oh shit, he's waking the
Man with the
dragon.
dragon tattoo. could be a stage.
Josh with the humor, he always has it.
Yeah. It could be a sequel to the girl with the dragon tattoo, the bodybuilder with the dragon tattoo.
I've been thinking it for a while, so I'm glad you finally said it, Todd. That like probably the missing ingredient for you when it comes to like meeting and impressing women is not enough head tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hair transplant vlog was gnarly, dude. That was really
It
cool.
was, dude. I like
that was
that.
very entertaining.
Oh, you guys watch
Yeah,
it?
I enjoyed it, man.
Your
Yeah, that
videos
was
have been
fucking
great
awesome.
lately, Todd.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
You've been-
We're
you've been
gonna.
kicking it.
Colin gave that recommendation, and we're gonna try out Theodora as our editor
Nice.
because
Nice.
All right, let's see if we can find a question for Ryan. I feel like we've kept Ryan in
Yeah.
the basement. He's like the redheaded stepchild.
I'm just going through I feel like I got to get to the questions that people pay money for first. So
All right,
I
yeah.
apologize if none of these are appropriate for Ryan's expertise.
There was one for Todd about his services someone paid for Titans Play.
Yeah, that was the most recent one that came in.
that's your
Titans
service.
played. Yeah.
Nope.
You take insurance? No.
Nope. Any good doctor does not take insurance.
Todd will trade in necromancy spells, though.
Yeah.
If you're a tattoo artist, get it, Todd.
Yeah, that's true. I have traded services for tattoos before.
Oh,
Why does that not
JT.
surprise me?
JT asked the paid one. That's interesting because I've actually experienced those ab cramps before too, where it feels like
What was the question?
Like
Let's
correct.
grab the questions.
Yeah,
So-
he said JT said he recently trained abs and got bad cramps where the muscle was moving on its own for minutes
Oh, I have-
afterwards, and he almost blacked out. He was suddenly pouring sweat. Wants to know if we've
happens to me
encountered
all the
that.
time when I'm having sex.
Watch my hydration video.
Yeah, so it's an electrolyte imbalance.
Yeah, just
Big
watch
time.
my hydration video. It's 55 minutes of gold.
So what you're saying is I should drink a Gatorade before I have sex. That's why I get abs cramps. I'll tell you, I had that tummy tuck surgery. Although they didn't alter my stomach wall. I ever since I've had that tummy tuck surgery 6 years ago, whatever it was, I get ab cramps all the freaking time.
Interesting.
So what happened with me is I had an umbilical hernia in 2014. So I was doing tricep press downs. My abs cramped up and I stretched my abs out by hanging on the door of the bathroom in the gym. And then I just felt this pop. And so a hernia
shit.
happened after, from stretching my abs out after doing press downs. And then what happened is I did my whole powerlifting career with that umbilical hernia. I beltless deadlifted 330, like stupid shit like that. Like, but I mean, I ended up getting surgery in 2020. I got it fixed, laparoscopic with like mesh and stuff. But I have got some diastasis recti now, so I'll probably eventually go in again under the knife and get them to like get the whole abdominal wall and bring it together a bit. But I'm just going to put that off until it actually needs to be done if it becomes a problem again, because knock on wood, I don't have any hernias right now. But ever since that hernia, I get ab cramps where it feels like if I train abs too hard, it feels like the abdominal wall, the rectus abdominis just folds in on itself. And I actually have to kind of like stretch and relax, kind of like almost distend my stomach to kind of like make it unlock. It's really weird.
JT is saying he got his blood work done 2 weeks ago, and he's pretty good about taking in electrolytes that are in line with his blood work.
But
like,
blood works.
Role, are you know?
And with blood work though, blood. You guys will agree with me. Blood work is a snapshot in time. Just because your electrolytes were good when you got bloods doesn't mean they were good several hours later when you went to the
Your
gym.
blood work,
That's the problem.
Yeah, your electrolytes will always look good on blood work because your body's going to prioritize your 140 sodium and your 4 potassium no matter what. If that was off, your heart would have stopped. But that doesn't mean that you have the right amount of electrolytes balanced.
Calcium, magnesium, stuff like that too.
Yeah, none of that means anything.
Amy says she runs a plastic surgery practice. It's super common to have abdominal wall cramping during sex after a tummy tuck. Well, now I know.
Does your plastic surgery practice have any experience with hernias? Because I experienced the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you might have just done a lot of business. That's why.
It just sounds like you don't have enough.
And nothing's worse than saying, I got to take a time out.
Thank you. Get on top.
You don't say that. You say your turn, and you roll.
Yeah.
In. You don't let them know.
Well, the problem is, Todd, though, is I
give
have
them
to
the
stretch
opportunity to shine.
I have to stretch the cramp out. It gets so bad. Even I'm like, hang on.
Yeah.
I gotta put my arms over my head.
Yeah.
All right, game on.
All right, what do we got next?
Daddy Longlegs. If planning a long off-season 350 test, 350 primo, can this be run for longer than 12 to 16 weeks if blood work is good and the dose needs to be titrated higher as you progress through the months?
Oh, that's my cruise.
Could be. Yeah.
That's my cruise
Yeah,
dose.
most open bodybuilders cruise on 600 milligram weeks. So yeah, I mean, 16 weeks is definitely not a cutoff for some situations.
No, I don't know where that started. That's just idiocy. I know you didn't make it up. You've heard that. That's how you do steroids. That's not how you do steroids.
Yeah,
Todd hasn't cruised in 10 years.
Well, pretty much.
Quick and easy answer to that one for you, Daddy Longlegs.
15 years.
I feel like I would be remiss in my duties of managing the questions that come in and that we answer if I didn't get to Salad's question before we end the show. I have 2 questions Salad asked. One, why does my penis become small when I run only Masteron 400 milligrams a week? I do not experience the same phenomenon with 500 test and 400 mass. This is my 5th week that I do this penis experiment.
Ryan, you want to take this one?
Yeah, Ryan, can you handle Salad's penis question, please?
I don't, honestly, I don't know.
We're going to need to see some pictures, Salad. I don't know.
No, dick
I'm gonna
pics.
take out the measurements.
I'm not well versed on mast only cycles and small penises.
That's the quote.
That's a good answer.
Right there. That's
Could be a lack of androgens. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't
That's
think
the only
penis
thing that
shrunk.
makes sense. Yeah.
Your penis didn't shrink.
I mean, not having any estrogen, so
Yeah.
Yeah, my first thought is just the lack of estrogen. I
That's
don't know what that does with.
yeah, like your penile tissue stimulated by DHT, specifically like the growth of it. So, yeah. Man.
Well, Masteron doesn't really convert, or like I should say, reduce into DHT. So maybe it's a lack of DHT because he hasn't got the testosterone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like a lot of people think that DHT derivative, that means that it's going to act just like DHT, and that's not necessarily
No,
true.
it just means DHT was the base hormone it was modified from.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it shares the same actions in the
But
body.
if we're willing to say that, we're also willing to say that Masteron doesn't cause hair loss, which I am not.
No, I think all anabolics cause hair loss to a degree. It's has more to do with the testosterone, doesn't it? Like
Masteron doesn't
testosterone.
cause more hair loss than Primo.
No.
It's but if you take enough androgens of any sort, they're going to cause hair loss. Because
Yeah, exactly.
the conversion of testosterone to DHT causes the greatest amount of hair loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
therefore,
so
testosterone would probably cause the most hair loss, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, so I do have a lot of experience with this.
What was that, Ryan?
I do have a lot of experience with this, like what, causing hair loss, and it's, it's up to, it's just different for everybody. Like, everybody's androgen receptors are a little different. So the DHT derivatives, for some people, can have a higher affinity for the DHT derivative, the androgen receptor at the hair follicle. Like, so for instance, for some people, some DHT derivatives like oxandrolone, stanozolol can cause more hair loss than testosterone. For most people, it doesn't. Most people, those DHT derivatives do not have the same binding affinity for the androgen receptor at the hair follicle. But for some people, it does. So it really depends on your specific genetics, your specific androgen receptor's binding affinity to whatever DHT derivative we're talking about. It's different.
It would. I don't know if you've found anything on this, Ryan, but like I've always kind of postulated that there must be some sort of genetic polymorphism that causes some people to basically have DHT resistant follicles on the top of their head, where most people don't. Usually we only have them on the side and the back of our head, but I think there must be some sort of like slither of the population like that are just genetically resistant to that. Maybe they have some sort of different morphology of their follicles on the top of the head.
What you find when you really start diving into androgen receptors is they're just like everybody else's DNA. Like everybody's are different. Like a lot of this early science was stating that there's a wild type androgen receptor, so that almost like everybody has this here's a normal androgen receptor and it's the same for everybody. And then there's single nucleotide polymorphisms that can cause problems from that. It turns out that everybody's got single nucleotide polymorphisms, if you want to call it that, or there is no wild type. There's no consistent wild type. Everybody's androgen receptors are different. Where their androgen receptors are located are different. So
you know what it is?
Nicholas, you're right.
I just got a bit of I just laughed in my head because when you said wild type, it just reminded me of like my first year biology at uni when we were doing Punnett squares with like different kinds of flies. How you cross the wild. Oh man,
the fruit flies, right?
Yeah. What was it? Mandela.
Mendeleev.
Mendeleev. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Far out.
So, all right, So like Hadi Chupon and Rafael, full thick head of hair. Everyone else on that stage is bald.
Yep.
There is nothing in between.
Genetics.
Mo Shaban, I looked like he had shaved his head, but it was still there was hair in the same hairline. He basically had Nick's haircut.
I mean, Jay still got a full head of hair.
Jay Cutler
he's
does.
got a full hair trend.
I'm on like nearly a gram of Primo a week now. I don't know how long it'll last. I'm waiting for the day that I'll lose my hair.
Mine was
for most people, for most people, Primo or the DHT derivatives do not cause the hair loss that testosterone does. For some people, it does, though. For some people, it accelerates it. But
for me, Primo specifically, and at least anecdotally, and this is obviously very hard to track and measure unless you're diligent and you actually like measure how many pieces of hair you see in the shower or the sink a day. But for me, at least anecdotally with myself and other clients, it seems like Primo does cause a greater amplitude of hair loss.
You know what I think that is? I think it's because of its effect on estradiol.
Yep. It's because it's pushing down on the estradiol as well as the androgen receptor, whereas Mestron would not. So technically, Mestron causes what you're saying less hair loss than Primo in most people.
So even if estradiol is in a physiological range but depressed, do you think that would still be enough to cause, like, are you speaking on like telogen effluvium, like homeostatic disruption type of hair loss? Or
I'm assuming that there's like this balance, and anything this goes down, the difference between the balance is the same as if this went up.
Yeah.
It might even be multiplication. You might divide your DHT load by your estradiol. What I found was that even at 100, I'm fine. But when I had 6 estradiol is when I lost my hair. It wasn't when I was running 2 grams Mastron.
Yeah, I've always noticed the most hair sheddings occurred when I've introduced AIs in my contest prep and stuff like that. And also, another thing too that impacts it, which people overlook, is thyroid function. So thyroid hormone changes, massive changes can cause alopecia as well.
That's a good point.
I also was on more thyroid meds than I would normally use when I was at my lowest estradiol for the longest period of time. It was a 6-week period between 2 shows when I had no estrogen, and I was on a lot of T3, and I was running a ton of, I was running Winstrol, Mastron, and Tren at high levels the whole time. And that's when
you did NPP or just Nandrolone only for a certain duration of time, didn't you?
Yes, 3 years.
And did you, during that period of time, notice any follicle shrinkage or?
That's what I'm saying. During that time, I had been running. There was one 6-week period where I ran like 700 Tren, 700 Mastron, 700 Winstrol, and I also was using an AI, and I was also using T3, and I lost all my hair that I'd ever lost during that period of time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Your thyroid hormones from the Tren and the T3, T4 would have been like, and then your E2 would have been like that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. You must have felt
Perfect storm for hair
It was
shedding.
the only time I thought about quitting. And then after that show, I had because I was doing 2 hours of cardio a day, and I was on 1,600 calories, and I was doing all that shit. And it was the only time I ever thought about quitting, and my look kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I still got first in over 40 and over 35 at Masters Nationals. And then afterward, it turned out my liver was shutting down, and my kidneys and some other organ was shutting down. And I had this infection under the skin that had spread over a large portion of my lower body.
Oh my god.
Oh,
So
man,
I had to,
that's crazy.
yeah. And that's the one, that was really bad. And that's kind of what happens when you get somebody to do your prep for you. Because like I had done my own prep for the state championship, and I won the overall. And then the guy who peaked me, I had him do my prep after that, because he did such a good job peaking me. In retrospect, he didn't do a good job peaking me. I looked better before the peak than I did after the peak. But I basically overstated the success. And then at that point, that's when he was like, okay, go off of everything and eat whatever you want for 3 days. I was like, that's going to make me fat as fuck. And he's like, just do it. And I did it. And he's like, oh, shit, you look fat. We're going to have to diet you even harder going to the next. So I dieted even harder for the next 5 weeks, and it didn't look as good. Whereas my approach would have been, don't go off of anything, just pull back on cardio and go back up a little bit on carbs and coast.
That's probably what I would do too.
Because I was already down as lean as I've ever been in my life. So I ended
and
up
then just
gaining
keep
body fat
volume
even though I was
fixed.
getting harder because of the 3 days. Because the 3 days turned into 7 days too. Like it wasn't like I could stop once I started.
Yeah,
Man.
All right, guys,
That's
I got to
rough.
wrap this up.
Take one final question that was paid
Sure.
for and then call it a day.
Yep.
Daddy Longlegs again. How do you know when to up the dose in a prolonged off season, or is it better to err on the side of caution, just accept a little bit more fat?
I mean, I'll tell you my my philosophy is if I stop making progress and my body composition gets worse.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
when I put
So-
I heard John Jewett say a framework that I really like, which is if you're not getting stronger, but the weight is going up on the scale and you're obviously pushing calories, you probably likely need to increase the dose. If the weight is going up on the scale in conjunction with also getting stronger or having no decline in performance within the gym, you're
Probably
likely
fine.
at the correct dose.
That's
That's
a
a
really
good
good rule
formula.
of thumb.
I like that. Because strength's a proxy
smart
for
dude.
hypertrophy, so that makes sense. Yeah. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on that.
That's a really good answer. Guys, before we go, I need to share the world's best V-taper with you. This is going to be, I want to, it's
A
a,
picture.
I'll wait
it's
for a
a-
funny picture.
Paul before bodybuilding.
that was me at peak, getting ready to get divorced. And Jerry is miserable.
It's got what I call the black hole butt syndrome. where it's like it's just him imploding on itself. It's like sucking him in.
I have
And kill ass.
I have white man ass. That is for sure. They should introduce. They said they should introduce this category. They did at the Arnold.
Todd, take a picture of it.
It's so gross.
They at the Arnold. I didn't get to see it, but they did have a smallest calves competition.
Yeah.
Shut up.
It's gone, Todd. It's gone, Todd. You're safe. It's a safe place.
I don't understand how anyone could live.
Haunt Todd's nightmares.
All the guy needed to do to really seal the deal with Todd was fart.
No, because it's so funny because that's like what the back of my head looks like.
It's not that
folks.
bad, man.
I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching. We
Thanks,
appreciate
everyone.
Much, guys.
each and every one.